In 1844, a single Paulownia tree planted in a Brooklyn garden grew 15 feet in its first summer, reaching a mature 50-foot canopy in under 10 years, while neighboring oaks were still saplings. The same species was already 1,800 years old in Chinese agricultural records, planted at the birth of every daughter to be harvested as her dowry furniture. Today, 31 U.S. states list Paulownia tomentosa as an invasive species, while the U.S. Department of Agriculture spends federal money to eradicate it. A mature Paulownia produces lumber harder than pine, lighter than balsa, and self-extinguishes at 400 degrees Celsius. In the courts of Han Dynasty China, Paulownia wood held a status reserved for the highest echelons of culture. The imperial treatise Shiji described its sound as clear and long. The reason court luthiers chose it for the guqin, a zither played by scholars and emperors for over 2,000 years. The Hanshu went further, ranking Paulownia above all rivals for crafting these instruments, with poplar a distant second. Ancient manuals like the Liji even outlined the precise way to strip the bark and preserve the core, ensuring the tone would not disperse. This was not mere tradition, but a technical standard, repeated in Tang and Song commentaries and confirmed by modern museum science. In Taipei, a Song Dynasty guqin, analyzed by scanning electron microscopy, revealed the signature cellular pattern of Paulownia tomentosa, matching the grain of living trees in Zhejiang. The Shanghai Museum's Ming-era fragment, dated by growth rings, tells the same story, a lineage of music, craft, and material reverence stretching back centuries. Across the sea in Japan, the tree is called kiri, and its meaning is woven into the fabric of family life. The Engishiki, a 1,000-year-old legal code, records the custom. At a daughter's birth, a kiri sapling is planted. 20 years later, the matured timber becomes a tansu chest, part of her wedding dowry. The wood's lightness and resistance to humidity made it the favored choice for these heirlooms, and surviving Meiji-era tansu bear marks attesting to 20-year kiri. The motif endures at the highest levels of state. The Order of the Paulownia Flowers, Japan's second highest honor, features the tree's blossom on its badge, echoing the imperial crest and symbolizing renewal and cultural refinement. In both China and Japan, the tree is not just a material, but a vessel of memory, status, and continuity. It's wood chosen for the instruments of scholars, the chests of daughters, and the emblems of state. The root remains. In 1834, a shipment of Chinese porcelain arrived at the docks of Philadelphia. Inside the crates, customs officials found more than fragile plates and painted vases. Nestled among the packing was a fluff of seeds, unlike anything local botanists had seen. Within months, those seeds sprouted in the city's gardens and along the cracked sidewalks near the port. The customs ledger from that year records the arrival, and by the following spring, the city's horticultural circles buzzed with rumors of a tree that could outpace any native oak. By the 1850s, Pennsylvania nurseries were touting Paulownia tomentosa as the next great timber crop. Catalogs from R.H. Miller & Company listed seedlings at $2.50 each, promising shade in 3 years, timber in 10 years. Kirk's Nursery offered a dozen saplings for $3, highlighting their resilience on poor soils and their ability to thrive where other hardwoods failed. Advertisements called it the tree that builds a fortune, and the numbers seemed to back the claim. A single mature Paulownia could produce up to 20 million seeds, and field notes recorded trees reaching 20 feet in just one season. Frontier farmers, eager for quick results on burned or depleted fields, wrote of planting Paulownia on ash-laden ground. Letters from Virginia and Tennessee describe rows of saplings shooting upward after just a single summer, some already bearing the hallmark purple flowers. The tree's ability to regenerate from cut stumps or roots, a phenomenon one Kentucky farmer called its ghostly return, made it a favorite for reclaiming land scarred by fire or overuse. By the eve of the Civil War, Paulownia was spreading beyond the nurseries, taking root in the ambitions of settlers and the advertisements of seed merchants. For a brief moment, it was not a weed, but a promise, a hardwood for a nation in the making. Behind closed doors in the early 1970s, the timber industry watched Paulownia tomentosa with growing unease. Memos circulated at Weyerhaeuser and Georgia Pacific headquarters naming the tree as a direct competitor, one that grew faster than any commercial hardwood in their catalogs yet fetched a fraction of the market price. Patent attorneys, frustrated by the tree's ancient lineage and the impossibility of claiming exclusive rights, warned executives that no legal monopoly could be secured over Paulownia genetics. Internal correspondence from 1968 to 1975, later summarized in trade association records, reveals a coordinated push. State legislators were courted, and USDA officials received detailed position papers warning of unregulated fastwood undermining domestic forestry. By 1973, Paulownia appeared on invasive species lists in Pennsylvania, and a year later New York followed, citing its rapid colonization of disturbed sites. The formal language in legislative records focused on ecological risk, but the timing matched a surge in industry lobbying. While no public document names Paulownia as the sole target, the American Wood Council's 1973 policy session minutes reference strategic positioning to influence state invasive species listings. The landscape was shifting. A tree once promoted for its promise was now labeled a threat. Meanwhile, the eradication campaign gathered momentum. Budgets obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests show that from 2000 to 2020, federal agencies spent over $18 million on Paulownia removal, including herbicides, contractor fees, and public awareness campaigns. In sharp contrast, China's Ministry of Agriculture was expanding plantations, with 2.5 million hectares of Paulownia under cultivation by 2024, supplying a global market hungry for lightweight, fire-resistant timber. In the United States, the purple-flowered tree was rebranded as a weed, its economic potential dismissed, its roots cut from the official narrative. County inspectors, armed with new ordinances, began knocking on doors in Appalachian towns. The language was clear: plant, harbor, or fail to remove Paulownia tomentosa and face a fine. In the early 1990s, landowners in West Virginia and Kentucky received certified letters, some with penalties starting at $500, others climbing above $2,000. Official logs from Fayette County list more than a dozen citations in a single year, each referencing the same code, Paulownia as a prohibited species. The enforcement did not stop at private property. Municipal crews uprooted trees from parks and roadside verges, citing removal mandates written into local law. For some, the loss was financial. For others, it was personal, a stand of trees planted by a parent, felled by order of the county. The erasure extended into the classroom. Forestry textbooks that just a decade earlier had praised Paulownia for its speed and resilience reappeared in revised editions. The 1986 volume of Silviculture of Temperate Forests listed Paulownia as a model for fast rotation timber. By 1993, the same title filed it under invasive hardwoods. It warned students against its spread. Editorial notes from publishers reveal a quiet but deliberate shift. What was once a case study in commercial forestry became a cautionary tale. The stigma filtered down. In university labs and extension offices, students learned to identify the tree not for its value, but for its risk. The purple flowers that once signaled promise now marked a target for eradication. Through fines, textbook edits, and public removals, the campaign against Paulownia left more than empty fields. It rewrote the tree's place in American memory. The root remains. Peer-reviewed studies now challenge the narrative of Paulownia as a mere nuisance. According to a 2019 analysis in the journal Forests, a single hectare of mature Paulownia captures up to 103 metric tons of carbon dioxide each year, nearly double the rate of most commercial hardwoods. Industrial Crops and Products reported in 2022 that its cellulose yield per acre is 4 times higher than poplar, making it a contender for sustainable pulp and bioplastics. Agronomists at the University of Tushia tracked significant increases in soil nitrogen after just 18 months of Paulownia growth, supporting claims of land restoration. Seed costs remain negligible, under 5 cents per unit in United States nursery catalogs, while the tree's pH tolerance spans from 5.0 to 8.9, thriving where others fail. Harvest ready in 5 years, a single tree can fetch between $300 and $800, and regrowth from stumps allows up to 7 cycles without replanting. The data, published and peer-reviewed, undercuts the rationale for blanket eradication. In the shadow of official bans, a quiet network keeps Paulownia moving from Appalachian hillsides to distant ports. Mill operators in Tennessee and Kentucky process logs for export, working with buyers who pay as much as $4,000 per cubic meter, far above any domestic price. Trade invoices show shipments routed through small freight brokers, their destinations listed only as East Asia. Advocacy groups calling themselves the Paulownia Revival circulate newsletters and strategy guides, urging landowners to plant discreetly and document their harvests. In 2020, pilot projects launched in Colorado and New Mexico, tracking growth and market returns while sidestepping state restrictions. Japanese buyers have been known to charter low-flying planes, scanning forests for mature stands to secure the prized timber. Even as the species is maligned in public policy, its wood travels a hidden path, proof that the demand never disappeared, only the permission. The root remains. Today, as China exports $500 million in Paulownia wood annually, U.S. policies still list the same tree as a threat. The line between weed and resource is drawn by history, not biology. The purple-flowered tree endures, labeled, uprooted, or restored. The root remains.